Good morning, everybody. A warm welcome to this online meeting today called Career Guidance and Education in VET, Relevance, Good Practice, and the interests and needs of our distinguished ENE members. My name is Florian Kadlitz. I work here at the ETF as a Human Capital Development Expert, and I want to give you some quick, important information about technical things. So welcome to all here in Zoom and all here in YouTube. Please choose the language that you want to follow this event in. You see on the slide an indication here where you can choose the language. If you don't choose any, you will hear the language that people speak on the floor. If you only want to hear English, then choose English, the same for Russian and French. The webinar will be recorded in all three languages. So afterwards, you will be able to share that link, to rewatch it in all the three languages. As always, there are a couple of rules we ask you to respect. Please mute yourself if you're not speaking so that there are no noises while others are speaking, and keep your cameras on. It's very nice to see people. Content-related questions and technical questions, please use the chat. You can write in English, in Russian, and in French. I'm now going to give the word to my colleague and the coordinator of the ENE network, Manuel. Over to you, Manuel.
Thank you, Florian. Good morning, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. We are very happy to have this event in career guidance and career education in VET, relevance, good practice, and also for exploring ENE members' interests and needs. ENE, we are, I think all of you knows very well, but I want to say some words about it. ENE is a big international family now because we are more than 200 centers of vocational excellence across the world. 17 are in our ETF partner countries, 7 in the European member states, and in also Africa, including South Africa, we have also a special project covering also the affiliation and membership of our ENE network. So we have more than 200, and the expectations is that we will grow. We cover basically several thematic areas that are the, let's say, entry points, career guidance in this case. And in this event is going to be for us an exploration, a new way of opening this interesting topic that in the last years, in particular, get more and more attention of policymakers and in the debates of our partner countries and the European Union. In particular, in 2020, for example, it has been a year very fruitful for new policy framework for European policies, and also those policies that inspire the action of our partner countries and within ENE. And we had there the Council resolution for integrating lifelong learning guidance and in the European Skill Agenda, and stressing the importance of guidance in the lifelong learning context. We had also the recommendation on vocational education and training, Council recommendation, on which also stresses the importance of the concept of lifelong guidance and facilitating the validation of non-formal and informal learning. We had also the youth employment support, a bridge for jobs in the next generation, on which also stressed the guidance, the importance of guidance for as a key element to avoid new youth and employment crisis. We had also Osnabrück Declaration, we cannot forget that, also in which also the concept of lifelong guidance is stressed there, and the role of career guidance for access to education and training, quality education and training. This attention also is stressed by the cooperation among international organizations. We had the recent result of a good document on which European Commission, the European Training Foundation, CEDEFOP, OECD, ILO, and UNESCO cooperate stressing also the joint interest of this international organization on investing in career guidance topic and actions. So for the Centers of Vocational Excellence, career guidance is also a distinctive feature. In our research, let's say first research that we did from the European Training Foundation, we found also that career guidance is a function or service that both are for many centers of vocational excellence is crucial for improving, let's say, the action and the quality of these centers, of these institutions. In the work that we have ahead also from NE, career guidance is started to be integrated in the work we are doing in work-based learning. So it's let's say little by little, Florian is guiding us also in integrating this good job that we have ahead. Today for us, I repeat, is a important day because this debate is going to be, let's say, pioneer for us, and we want to learn lessons with you. And we are very happy to have very good distinguished speakers with us, and we are all very open to learn with you today because it's also a very important debate for our partner countries and for the future of the NN network. I think I'm going to pass the floor again to Florian, and over to you, Florian, and thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks a lot, Manuel, for those introductory words. We're actually physically sitting in one room for the first time for 1.5 years, so we are very happy about it. So if you see us smiling to the left or to the right, that is because we're in the same room. So next slide, please. I will briefly introduce you to the agenda. As you can see, we have some short technical input in the beginning to introduce to the topic. Then we will engage into a panel discussion, looking at good practice, enabling and hindering factors. And we will leave plenty of room for you for questions, comments, and to discuss your needs and interests. But to kick off, can I please ask you to participate in a short survey now in the beginning? Please, chat moderators, be so kind and post the link in the chat. Please, everybody, click on that link. You will see a new window in your web browser opening. Just follow that and answer the first question, please. And when you're finished, just come back to the Zoom interface. We will show the results. We do this because we don't know much about you. We know that you are interested in the topic, but we don't know yet what you're doing. So the first question would be, which career guidance and career education services are you already offering? You can choose one, you can choose many of these options here, or you just choose two. If you don't choose anything, it's also an answer to us. So please click on the link and let us know what you're already offering in terms of guidance or education services. There are different options for potential students, for students that are already in your VET centers, or for you do career counseling, which is a more intense work, individually or group-based, or you offer career education, which is more a structured learning process, or there is more employment counseling. Let's give us a couple of more seconds. I hope you all are able to open the link, because I just see one response so far. If you click on the link, a new window in your web browser would open.
Florian, I think we got the wrong link.
Okay. We will, apologies for that. We will resend the link. My colleagues will resend the link. That seems to be the wrong link. Apologies for that. So we're resending the link as we speak. Okay, it should work. Colleagues say. Loretta, sorry, I don't see that the link was resent.
Yes, it was resent.
Okay.
Resend it again.
Yes, please, just to be sure that people have it. It's
We
important. Please, please, Ronald.
There is no other link.
No, I don't see it either, Loretta.
From me to everyone. Sorry.
It's not on our chat screen.
Sorry.
We will resend it now. Here we go. So apologies
Is it sent
for
by
that.
Loretta?
Yes, it was just sent now by Loretta. If you click on the link again, that should be the correct one now. Please try it again and give us an idea. Ah, you see, now we get some responses. Very good.
It's okay now.
Good, good, good. It's getting colorful and nice. Let us know what you're already doing so that we can have a better understanding of you, of your offers. So we can base our discussions a bit on some ideas of who you are, what you're doing. Interesting. So career counseling and career education is quite high, as well as employment counseling, but also information for potential future students. More and more people click. Okay. Let's give us 2 more seconds. Okay, so what we see, in fact, is that you're quite active in all the areas already. I mean, there's a bit less on career education, but maybe people still keep on clicking. What we see is that you're active in quite all of these areas. That's interesting and a good basis to start the discussion. Thanks a lot for participating. Let's move to the second question, which is related. We would like to understand, just stay on this survey web browser, and you see the second question: do you consider your service offer overall at the starting stage, at a medium level of development, or overall advanced? I'm very much aware that this is a general question and it's difficult, you know, to generalize things, but it's interesting to get an idea of where you assess yourself standing at that moment of time. I'll give you 2 more seconds. Let's see what we get. So one more moment and then we'll see. I feel that from what I see here, that there are lots of people saying we are at the starting stage, at the same time the medium stage. Some are at advanced stage, and I will take a screenshot of that because we will look at that question again after we get some input to see whether the insight into what could be actually high quality services would change your self-assessment, which of course I'm aware a very generalized assessment at that time. But thanks a lot for participating. Can we go back please to the presentation and to the slide number 6? I will give you just a very brief introduction into what is career guidance. I'm addressing that just to ensure that we have a common understanding of where we stand. So the overall aim of career guidance is to develop the capacity of individuals to manage their careers. You might have heard many times the term career management skills. Career guidance describes the services which help people of any age to manage their careers and to make the educational, the training, and the occupational choices that are meaningful for them. This, by the way, is an agreed definition among UNESCO, ILO, ETF, CEDEFOP, our sister agency working with the EU countries, and OECD. So we have a common understanding on that. Career guidance helps people to reflect on their ambitions, their interests, their qualifications, their skills and their talents, and to relate that knowledge about who they are to who they might become in life and work. So career guidance helps also address differences and inequalities as individuals, families, communities, they differ. They differ in the extent to which they're able to visualize and to plan their futures. Secondly, career guidance involves a range of connected learning activities that help people to access services, access resources, access experiences that are related to employment and that are related to further education and training. In more practical terms, career guidance involves provision of careers information, provision of personalized and group guidance or counseling, the assessment that supports self-appraisal and career exploration, the engagement of employers, very important point, and career education. Can we move to the next slide, please? There is a widespread, yes, exactly. There is a widespread wrong assumption that VET learners already made informed decisions about what careers they would like to pursue, and that they have developed career management skills through their experience in formal apprenticeships or through holiday and after-school part-time employment. And there is this widespread wrong assumption that therefore career guidance is not needed anymore in VET. Let me give you a couple of strong reasons why, especially in VET, career guidance is important. So first and foremost, all individuals, especially VET learners, will need to deal with more frequent and complex transitions within and between education and work, now and in the future. As you know, there are global developments, and because of that, on a global scale, education, training, and labor market systems are challenged by these developments, such as digitalization, globalization, demographic change, global disruptions like COVID, for example. So in this context, the readiness and ability to lifelong learning are required, and individuals need to develop career management skills, enabling them to manage their individual life path in education, in training, and work across the lifespan. I'm saying this because this argues for career education and the provision of career guidance to all VET learners. Secondly, it requires specific career dialogue for career learning. So work-based learning alone does not replace the active engagement in career development. This is important because all VET learners took the decision to participate in a certain VET program. But now they all need to clarify for themselves, how can I most effectively pursue the career that I've chosen? Also, not all learners want to or are able to finish a VET program. So there is a need to deal with learners who want to change programs, or a need to deal with potential dropouts and with disengaging learners. Also, not all VET programs actually explicitly prepare for a career. Therefore, career development support is needed. Last but not least, more adults will enter into VET programs due to massive need for re- and upskilling, and their needs are to be addressed as well. I understand also that many among you actually have a mandate for adult learning and education. Thirdly, VET centers have a role in supporting the overall efforts to address youth unemployment and failed transitions or difficult transitions. As you might be aware, interventions to failed transitions at an early stage usually focus on integration into schools, especially into VET. So a VET school's guidance services need to also address this target group and offer special services to, for example, former needs who are placed into VET. Fourthly, evidence shows that career guidance prior to VET is often inadequate. While there is solid evidence that early career guidance in school increases students' engagement and success in schools, It also supports the transition from school to further learning, to work. So this argues for a role of VET centers in providing career guidance for primary and for secondary schools. And it argues that VET learners are to be supported to most effectively pursue the career they have chosen, because maybe or very likely the choice they have made is built on poor reflection and poor intelligence. So the career guidance is kind of preventive work. It's not reactive when learners already dropped out. A final point, why it's important, ETF data shows very strong evidence for vertical and horizontal skills match in many ETF partner countries. And ETF data shows problematic school to work transitions, also for that. So vertical mismatch means over or under education or over underskilled, or horizontal mismatch, so field of education not matching education, not matching occupation. Next slide, please. So building on that, there are 4 broad areas of career guidance for VET centers. Career guidance in schools to potential future VET learners, the development of career management skills for VET learners, so career education and guidance provision, the support to address youth unemployment and failed or difficult transitions, and career guidance in support of transition from education to work. And this now brings us to the how. Next slide, please. This will be my final one. We will discuss today the key cornerstones, the elements of what high quality or excellent career guidance and education in VET is. So career education is among the most effective ways for developing lifelong career adaptability and employability, as impact research shows. And therefore, the centers of vocational excellence should also show excellence in this area, because their role is to inspire innovation by acting as models for systemic change. And it is one of our tasks to define what high quality or excellent career guidance looks like. So this is about the how. We will discuss the how, and you see a couple of topics here on the slide: quality, information, counseling, education, also collaboration and cooperation. So we aim to unveil the elements of achieving high quality or excellence in career guidance. And I'm very happy that we have good, experienced experts with us today who will share their knowledge and insights with us. Let me start with introducing Professor Ronald Sultana, Director of the Euro-Mediterranean Center for Educational Research at the University of Malta, who will share with us exactly an overview of the how. Please, Ronald, the word is yours.
Florian, do I still have 15 minutes because we're running a bit over?
Yes, I'm aware of the time. That's fine. Please go ahead.
Okay, so yes, so we could start with the slides. So good morning, everybody, and thank you, Florian and ETF, for inviting me to share some of my thoughts about this important field. And I hope that what I have to say may prove useful. What I'm going to do is to talk a little bit about what excellent, or let's say good quality career guidance services might look like. And I'm going to draw on my international experience in this field, and we try to learn from that. Next slide, please. So I have about 10 slides, so I won't spend more than a minute on each, if possible, so that we keep to the time. But I will be presenting you with the slides and also further information so that you can benefit from this presentation. So the first thing I'd like to do is to present you with a bird's eye view of what's happening in our field internationally. Quite a lot has happened over the last 2 decades, and we have to see why. As Florian was saying, this contributes to a number of public and private goals, and therefore quite a lot of governments have invested in this service. We will try to extract some key learning points from these international experiences, which I have done and packaged together in a handbook, which will be provided free of charge, of course, which looks at some of the issues that Florian has just raised, and answering also how we can provide good quality services. Next, please. So for those of you who perhaps are either relatively new or new to the field of career guidance, it's interesting to note how much over the past 20, 21 years, the last 2 decades, several governments, NGOs, and entities, agencies have invested in developing our understanding of career guidance, career education and guidance. We have to keep in mind that starting first with the OECD, but then ETF, CEDEFOP, World Bank, even ILO carried out a number of reviews of career education and guidance internationally. More than 55 countries were reviewed. Networks were set up. Quite a lot of policy analysis and policy development took place. And very interesting, it's not only the wealthy countries that were involved, but also middle income and even low income countries. For example, I carried out a study together with my good mentor, Tony Watts, in the Middle East and North Africa region on behalf of ETF. So these kinds of reviews help us identify key qualities that we should pursue, but also make us aware of the specificity of context. That is why we keep an eye on the global to learn from it. There is also an emphasis on local situations where what is identified as good practice might shift, might change, might be adapted to suit circumstances. Take, for example, the fact that in many low and middle income countries, the informal labor market is extremely powerful. It takes up, up to 60% of employment possibilities. So when we talk about career guidance, which is often about formal labor markets, we need to see how this fits into the picture. Next slide, please. So all this activity at international level led to a lot of studies, a lot of publications, a lot of analysis, which I've been very, very privileged to be involved in practically most of them. And as part of a project, I opted to go through this material again and to try to synthesize some of the key strategies that are used internationally to improve quality in the education sector from a lifelong perspective. So what I'll be doing over the next few minutes is to give you a taste of this handbook, which is basically a compendium of good ideas, of good examples that we've observed internationally. Next slide, please. To talk about quality means that we have to be a little bit aware of the different approaches to quality, which I cover in the first couple of chapters of the handbook. And I think one nice way, let's say, clear way of thinking about quality is to think of it in terms of either staff, system, or user-centered. So, for example, staff-centered quality assurance programs emphasize that if you want quality in the services you give to students, you need to have people who are well-trained, who have qualifications in the area, who form an association that has standards that they have to keep, that has a code of ethics, that only people who are licensed will offer the service. So that's one approach to quality. You emphasize the input. Another approach, and one does not exclude the other, obviously, is one that focuses on systems, where probably from top down, but also with the collaboration of practitioners and associations of career guidance, you identify indicators, you have service standards, you inspect or monitor and encourage and make sure that the service reaches certain standards, and that the specifications of what constitutes a good service are clearly set out and monitored. Not necessarily by government, although it is often government, but also by or in collaboration with NGOs, some quality assurance services also source out to other companies. The third approach is, if you want excellence, you also focus on what the service users actually say. So what do our students say about the services that we offer? And here we can, get quite a lot of insights because we might think that our services are good fit for purpose. But those who use them might have, either suggestions or criticisms that help us improve. So you would use charters, user surveys, you give students, in our case, the possibility of making a complaint and also inputting into the design of the career guidance system that you are developing in your context. So these are three approaches to play with. And some of the best systems I've seen try to merge the three and give importance to all three of them. Next slide, please. And now that we have talked a little bit about, what quality assurance might entail, we could focus now on examples of interesting practice. And I use the word interesting rather than good, because what is good in Spain might be not very good in Malta, and what is good in Malta might not very well in Italy. So one has to be quite aware of the specificity of context. But I look at what Florian identified in terms of the different facets of career education and guidance, starting with first career education. So next slide, please. So we will look at career education, career information, career counseling, having a counseling services hub within schools, the need to work with partners, and the need to have a system of critical reflection, possibly through action research, so that providers give a good service and improve from year to year. But focusing quickly on each of these, just to open up a box, which will then develop further in the panel, but also, if you are interested, to read through the handbook. So career education, okay? Some of the best examples we have seen internationally actually take career education very seriously. They start very early, as Florian was saying. There's from primary, we will hear Jennifer talk about a whole school approach, but starting right from primary onwards, where we learn about work, even in critical ways, we develop a set of learning outcomes that we need to reach at every stage of development, which we call curricular frameworks. There are several. We have identified the Australian one, the American one, the Canadian one. There's one in Scotland. We have looked at all these, and they are pretty similar in many ways. And how we can teach career education across the curriculum and through the curriculum. In some countries, including in mine, career education is part of the timetabled curriculum. Others have it spread across. The main thing is that there is a number of powerful, important ideas that every citizen should have access to, because we know that choosing the right pathway or pathways and being happy in those pathways not only makes us more fulfilled in life, but we're also more productive. So both the citizen and the state and the nation have to benefit. And in the best education programs, we see an intelligent use and an innovative use of both teaching methods like work shadowing, work experience, and so on and so forth, games, the use of games, life cycle games, but also very interesting assessment strategies like portfolio. Next, please. Of course, at the basis of career education is career information. And here we're not doing so well for a number of reasons. Some systems actually dump a lot of information on students, and we have interesting evidence that shows that the more information you throw at people, they end up becoming irrational in their use of it. For example, they choose a trade or a craft because their friend has gone there, or because they like the teacher, or because the school is close by. So we have to be very careful to think of information in a different way. We call it a constructivist way, that students, like all of us, construct our understanding of the world. We make sense, we develop meaning. And therefore, to do so, we need to present information in an intelligent way, in a way that meets certain standards, including, for example, gender-friendly information, sensitivity to diversity. And we avoid, all this fragmentation that students in the contemporary world, like us, we're bombarded by information, and we end up, totally lost. Next slide, please. Very important aspect of career education and guidance is the ability to choose who to give personalized services to, who will benefit from personalized services. And this is what we call the triage approach, where you choose those who are most likely to drop out or seem really unhappy at school, and you develop with them what we call a personal development plan that makes sense to them and provide additional coaching, mentoring, and even one-to-one counseling or group counseling. So the kinds of services we offer these students is very pointu, as they say in French, is very targeted. Next slide, please. Some of the best systems I've seen also make sure that career guidance is not something tucked away, hidden, people barely know about it. We have to keep in mind that many students and many parents are not even aware that there is such a thing as career guidance. They themselves give career guidance informally. Look at your uncle, look at your father, look at your auntie, and so on and so forth. So it's somewhat important in schools, my argument is, despite the importance of social media, despite the fact that kids are always, on the internet, that we have a physical space in schools that deals with career guidance issues. So what we call a hub for career learning. And I even provide in the handbook kind of plans of how one can organize a hub, where students feel at ease, at home, they can do their own self-directed searches, but with the support of practitioners who have been trained. Next slide. Excellent career guidance systems, as Florian mentioned, have to have partners. We have to face the reality that many teachers, including teachers in TVET schools, are not necessarily that close to the contemporary world of work. So it's important that teachers work hand in hand with other partners, be they employers, be they ex-students, being, trade union officials, people from the local community, so that the hub is alive with, people who can add insights to what the students know about work and what they'd like to know. And finally, if we want to provide excellent services, next slide, please, we need to have practitioners who are not only trained prior to starting their job as careers advisors, but who also constantly reflect, who adopt what we call the reflective practitioner model, where there is constant reflection on action, which then leads to further reflection, and who also invite critical friends to support their work. Last slide, please. So I'd like to thank you very much for your attention. I hope you got something from this, even though I had to go a bit fast. You've got a link to the handbook and my email in case you need some resources. I feel obligated ethically to share with you absolutely anything you need, which I might have, because I have been so privileged in getting all these resources from colleagues internationally. So please do contact me should you need any resources that you might need. Thank you very much.
Ronald, a big thank you to you. It was impressive how you managed to cover all those various aspects in such a short time. Thank you so much. Was very rich. And I want to ask again now our participants, please, chat moderators, post again the link to the questionnaire, just to be sure people have it. Please click again on the link. We'll have one more time the question 2. I would be very much interested to see again how you would self-assess yourself, standing at that point in time, giving that input that we just heard from Ronald about the various aspects and what it would take to deliver high quality, excellent services. So please go back again to the questionnaire. I see a couple of people started answering. That's good. Let's give us some more seconds. I see that less people answering at the moment, so we'll wait one more moment to get the comparable size of respondents. It's interesting that the amount of people who consider themselves at overall an advanced stage is actually growing. That's very positive. That's also interesting because maybe you weren't aware of how good you do things. So that's another achievement I would say we have to make here in our discussions. We have to be aware of what we're actually doing and if it's good what we're doing. So we need to have that discussion. And on the other side, I see that the amount of medium level decreased a bit, and a couple more said they're at the starting stage. So that's interesting. I think that's exactly what we want. We want an awareness amongst us and amongst you on what it would take, what it means to deliver high quality or excellent career services. So thanks for participating. Can we go to the next slide, please? Because now we heard from Ronald the cornerstones, the elements of high quality or excellent career guidance and education. And now I would like to ask our panelists to add to that discussion and to raise some points. And I'm very happy that we have an interesting group of people here. Please, participants, keep your questions and comments for yourself for that moment. After that panel discussion, we will open up and we will have 20 minutes just for you to express your comments, questions, or viewpoints. So first, let me introduce Ms. Ilse Brante. She is member of the board of the Vocational Education Association in Latvia and director of the Ogre Technical School in Latvia. Welcome, Ilse.
Да, доброе утро, я могу говорить по-русски.
Thank you, good to have you. I'm happy also to have Miss Jennifer McKinsey here, the director of the National Centre for Guidance in Education in Ireland. Welcome, Jennifer.
Morning, Florian. Thank you for inviting me.
Good to have you. Thank you. Then I'm glad to have Professor Peter Weber with us from the University of Applied Labor Studies in Germany. And today he's also representing the Network for Innovation in Career Guidance and Counseling in Europe. Hello, Peter.
Yeah, thank you for the invitation. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you for being with us. And we also ask Ronald again to be with us, Ronald Sultana, who just gave us a very good overview of some key elements. So let me start with you, Ilse. But please, all panelists, as we said, just raise your hand physically in case you directly want to react to comment of speakers. And please, all participants, again, collect your questions and comments for the open session afterwards. So Ilse, Latvia was a part of a big EU project about career education and career guidance for vet students and potential future students. Based on that experience, could you share let's say three things that made career education for vet students a successful, high quality intervention? What role did the Career Guidance Center play in that? Ronald mentioned before the Career Hub, that's the same point. So what are the three things? Please, Ilse, share it with us.
Добрый день еще раз. Я хочу рассказать об опыте Латвии, как мы проводим профессиональную ориентацию и обучение по вопросам развития карьеры. В нашем училище, в техникуме, мы создали центр по обучению карьеры. И в этом центре работают специалисты, которые получили образование в направлении карьеры. Это наши учителя, которые повышали свою квалификацию. И эти учителя являются как консультанты в работе в двух направлениях. Это первое направление у нас профессиональная ориентация для тех учащихся, которые хотят учиться в профессионально-технических училищах. Во-первых, команда наших учащихся посещает школы во всей Латвии. И особенно я хочу отметить, что преподаватель, консультант по карьере Он является как консультант, но презентацию, как выглядит профессиональное образование, делает наши учащиеся, которые осваивают какую-то профессию. Потом следующее наше направление, что учащиеся приезжают в профессионально-техническое училище. Тогда мы организуем творческие мастерские, и учащиеся получают утверждение, что они получили опыт об конкретной профессии, и при поступлении в училище они имеют преимущество. И эти разные мероприятия, день открытых дверей, это информационные дни, эти дни совместно работодателями. И еще одно направление по профессиональной ориентации – это выставки. Выставки школа, это выставка по образованию, но это и выставки по профессиональному направлению. Это у нас одно направление, которое профессиональной ориентации, но это для наших будущих учащихся. У меня есть еще второй рассказ о том, что мы делаем с нашим учащимся. Мне это тоже сейчас рассказать?
No, I think it's interesting, Ilse. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. Да. И второе направление нашего центра есть обучение по вопросам карьеры для наших учащихся. И мы уже во время обучения наших учащихся вовлечаем разные семинары, конференции по повышению квалификации. И наши учащиеся получают подтверждение, что они получили новые знания по новейшим технологиям. И мы считаем, что очень полезное сотрудничество с работодателями нам создается во время обучения на рабочем месте, когда уже учащиеся с первого курса видят свое будущее предприятие или будущего работодателя, и они уже на третьем, на четвертом курсе полноценные работники, и они действительно могут утвердить себе, что они знают, что это профессия, та, которую они выбрали действительно для них. Мы делаем также договор с высшими учебными заведениями, и, например, во время выпуска нам высшие учебные заведения, нашим студентам, дает уже утверждение, что они приняты в бюджетной группе в высшем учебном заведении. Потом у нас тоже очень тесное сотрудничество с такой организацией, которая работает на европейском уровне, Junior Achievement. Когда уже во время обучения в профессионально-техническом училище учащийся создает свои учебные предприятия и учится, как владеть в будущем со своей работой самостоятельно. И программы лидера, когда каждый год кто-то из наших учащихся получает обучение программы лидерства. Это так вкратце о том, что происходит в нашем училище. Большое спасибо за возможность присутствовать, и каждая новая информация из каждого государства – это развитие нас каждого. Спасибо.
Thank you so much, Ilse. That's very important for us to have you here because you present the practical side. That's your everyday work. You're working with the learners, you're providing the services, you have lots of practice experience. That's extremely rich. And from what your contribution, the short one now, even from that short contribution, you can hear you touched upon all the relevant aspects, from cooperation to providing access to employers, to providing learning about career. So that was a good starting point, and I ask you, Ilse, to come in later also again to share your thoughts. But I want to give the word to Jennifer now to a related topic for me. So, you know, the Irish National Centre for Guidance in Education developed the whole school guidance framework. Ronald mentioned it before. Why did you choose to follow the whole school approach? What are key lessons learned for you, and what can be learned for that?
Okay, thank you, Florian, and I'm delighted to be with you all this morning. Greetings from a very wet and windy Dublin in Ireland. In Ireland, in our legislation, there is a requirement to provide guidance to students in our post-primary schools, and that is from the age of 12 to 18. So it's a little bit different to your countries, where students might choose VET a little bit earlier in their secondary schooling. So there has always been a requirement to provide guidance, and the focus of guidance in our post-primary schools is a holistic approach. So it's personal and social guidance, so the personal guidance counselling that you mentioned, it's career guidance, and it's education guidance. And what has happened over many years is many different schools would have been running their programme a very different way. So one school would be very different to the next school. And we had been working at European level with Ronald and colleagues in the ELGPN, and we were looking at quality assurance, and we were looking at career management skills, and we were looking at how could we reframe the work that was already happening, and fantastic work already happening in schools, but to put a frame on it so that we could then start encouraging schools to develop their practice, as Ronald said, talking about reflective practice, and supporting schools to develop their own guidance delivery. So the whole school guidance framework came about in that context, and we published it back in 2017, and we have been rolling it out ever since. So we now have a situation where almost every school in the country is using the framework to develop and deliver their guidance program. So this whole school guidance framework provides guidelines for schools. It's not a set of rules, it's a set of guidelines to use. And the focus is on the guidance planning, so how to develop and deliver the program, and then the actual delivery of guidance, excuse me, for the development of the competences of the young person, the student. And in looking at the overall planning, we adopted a psychological model that is used in a model that's used in psychological supports in our schools, the model of for all, for some, and for a few. So we looked at guidance for all. What does every student in the school have access to? Is it website information? Is it that hub, that careers office where they can go and get information? Or is there an outline? And there should be an outline of what happens for each year in the school. And there are 6 years. What will happen with first years, second years, third, fourth, fifth, sixth years, so that everybody knows. Guidance for some then is about taking smaller groups of students, whether that is a group of 10 students who all want to go to medical college, or that's a group of 10 students who all have learning difficulties, who want to look at their own developments and need supports in a personal and a career situation. And the guidance for a few then is making sure that every student has access to one-to-one guidance counselling so they can discuss their own situation at the appropriate times. And that helps the schools to develop their plan of what they're going to do and how they're going to deliver. In the competence development for the students then, we look at what Ronald was talking about is career management skills. So whether that's career competence or career learning. And in Ireland, the phrase we're using at the moment is guidance related learning, because it fit into our context in our schools. And this is why I agree with Ronald. What works in one country, the language, the approach might not work. And in the development of these career competences, we look at 3 focused areas where the student is supported to look at developing myself, developing my learning, and developing my career path. And that is not always done just with the guidance counsellor. That is integrated into career subject choice discussions. That is integrated into the geography class or the maths class or the science class. And that happens through dialogue and through collaboration with the other teachers. I should have said, sorry, that a guidance counsellor in Ireland is firstly a qualified teacher and then has an additional postgraduate qualification at master's level in guidance counselling. So in the development of those competencies, that can be through classroom activity, through attending seminars, going to open days, and schools now develop, in some schools, they'll develop a careers week, and one set of students will take on board to manage and coordinate that careers week. So the students are developing their own skills as well as learning career, developing their career interests. In our 4th year in post-primary schools, when students are approximately age 16, we have what we call a transition year program, where students have an opportunity to explore their careers. They have a chance for work experience. And in the rest of the senior cycle then, from 16 to 18, the students have an opportunity to explore their ideas, their career interests. And the guidance counsellor is involved in supporting the student to explore those interests and then start to narrow down, well, what do I really like? Where would I really, really like to go? The key element of the whole school guidance framework approach is the dialogue and the collaboration with other school staff, working very closely with the school management to look at what do we need in our school, and then working with school staff, how are we delivering it? It very much takes a holistic approach, because making a career decision requires a student to have an understanding of who they are, what their family circumstances are. Are they the first person to go into vet or university? Are they the first person, are they, the first person in their family to not want to do an academic route and maybe go a vet route? And how does this affect their personal decision? What I would say in relation to the whole school guidance framework is that we are currently looking at how can we adapt it into what we call FET, further education and training, which brings in adult education and vet together. We do have guidance delivery across the FET sector, but it's very different and the approaches are different across the different sections. So we're now beginning to look at, well, how can we introduce the whole school guidance framework model into a whole guidance framework model into the FET sector. But what I would say in relation to how it would be useful in the vet sector is the approach that is looking at the individual developing their skills to make their decisions. When a student has chosen a vet route in their education and training, maybe 2 or 3 years in, they realize, actually, I can do other things that I never thought about. There's another route that maybe I want to take my training in the hospitality or the tourism industry. Maybe I want to set up my own business. Are there other courses that I need to do to actually develop my skills and my career plan? Maybe they've realized that the learning they do in vet is easier than the learning they did at school. And maybe now they've developed the confidence to go back into an academic route. So it's crucial that those career development skills or career management skills are continued throughout the vet, through their time in vet, because we're talking about guidance being a lifelong approach. So,
Jennifer, thank you so much for that. I hear you want to make one more point. Please go ahead. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you.
Florian, that I will send on a link to you for all of your colleagues to all of these resources, and you're all welcome to contact me about them.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jennifer. I guess that was, again, in a very short time, a very, very good overview of how to approach guidance. You stressed one point that I want to bring now further in our discussion. It's about the competence of the practitioners. And I would like to ask Peter Weber, you know, what are actually the key competences of a practitioner? If it's a teacher, a subject teacher, or if it's a career counselor, are there existing frameworks one can point to? So what are the competences?
Yeah, thank you, Florian, for this question. And before I go to this point, I just want to give some introduction what I am doing. So as Ronald presented, there have been a lot of focus on quality and also competences in the last decade, and this was often and mainly on a European or international, transnational level. So for me today, it's much more important to work in the field, to work with the field, and this means mainly for me in the moment Germany. I'm professor in an institution that is qualifying practitioners, future practitioners. We have approximately 1,500 students. They will work in guidance, but also on placement, for instance, in the public employment service. Before I go to the competencies, I want to say that in the field, as I see it in the moment, we have developments, and I think this is not just Germany, this is also in other countries. And the one is that the lifelong perspective that has been for a long time more in white papers and so on is getting reality more and more. So I work today a lot not just from school to work, but also in vocational training. We have, for instance, relevant problems with dropping out from vocational training, and guidance and mentoring, especially also mentoring on the workplace, can be an important mean, especially for students and advanced students who have problems to catch up with the situation. And this is not just a question of how can I learn, but also it is in the vet process the question, is this my career? Is this what I learn here? Is this sustainable for me? Another thing which is also relevant for the professional's competence is that the scope of theories and methods and formats is expanding, and we have left behind a one idea career guidance, I would say. So the academic discussion, is it the one theory or the other, I think is not state of the art, and we can really learn from practice how they are eager to work with different models, theories, of course, also channels, so a lot of digital work today. And this is cross cultural, this is also cross-disciplinary. And we as career guidance experts are not setting the state, but also practice is setting their own rules and ideas, and it's interesting to work closely together also from bottom up. And the third one, and then now we're coming to the practitioners and the competences, we have much more people working with the topic. It's not just some experts sitting in offices and offering career guidance to single individuals that come. But I think for Germany, since the last 15 years, we have a growing number of forms where especially people work with the topic who are not working on this in their main role. So we are not just talking about full professional career advisors or counselors, but we are talking about people in the workplace. We are talking about the normal teachers, the directors of school, people doing the networking, and this is especially important task to give those group minimum knowledge and competence to do this work better. So of course the study programs for full-fledged practitioners is important. This is one level, and in a NICE network, I can also send the links immediately. In the NICE network, we distinguish and said, okay, we need also to look at those who do this in a certain role of their career life, and they maybe need different competences or different set of competences than people doing this in an expert role or in a professional role. So you can read that afterwards. So I just give it in from my understanding in my own words. The core, of course, is also for people doing it in a certain role is understanding what is the career world today. So what is the variance of how people make their career, construct their career, or come into a career. And this is, as Ronald said, very broader than the ideal, normal working career as we saw that maybe in the 70s or till the 70s or 80s. I think also in the Western countries, there's a much broader understanding of career and career shifts, as Jennifer said, in the adult life. So I think this is the core competence that we can speak to each other about what is the world of work today and where are the traps and the challenges for people. And the second core competence, as we think, is to understand the person in front of me. So be able to find relationship, to talk with a person about their subjective perspective on what is a career. And if I look to young people here in our country, it is not given that people with 16, 17, 18 or 22 share the adult or the older understandings of how to come into a career. They are not buying everything what is sold today to them. And the stronger we have here the discourse from the world of work and the policy, that we need those people to fulfill certain roles in the future life, the more they bring up other questions and say, is this what you offer my career? Is the work life you designed, is this my life? And the career practitioner, from my perspective, even it's a teacher or a people in a company, is not in the role to sell something just for the public good, but also to be a kind of advocate for the view of the people, of the young people. And this is a second point I would like to see, that we share as practitioners, that we are not in the marketing for jobs or for careers, but as advocates for the people. And I think in the NICE in the NICE standards, it was good to see that this position was agreed there. And the third thing, maybe this is a special German perspective. We are always a bit skeptical about theories just looking at the individual. So this is a bit in contradiction what I said earlier. In the theory is not just talking about inner psychological resources of the people, not just how do you feel, what is your hope, or what is your positive self-treatment to be able to catch up with everything, but also to work with the system. So career practitioners need also to work in the direction of the system. What do we offer to the people? What is the support? Or how the system sometimes need to change to be attractive and a good habitat for people learning something or working. And of course, this is a big point for career practitioners. When I tell them you are also working with the organizations and systems, but just looking at schools or vocational training institutions, I think for me it's not so special to say if you work for careers, you need also to talk with managers or people in charge in this institution and think about how do we learn today, or how do you train the young people in a way that they are interested and are able to catch up with what you are offering. And I'm working now for public employment service institutions, and this is a special case of how to change, for the need of change the spirit of an institution to work for the people and not, for instance, just for economy or the labor market.
Peter, thank you so much for that insight. I just wanted, if you have one more important point to make. One more important point,
yes. So. I think you can read this just one more important point. I think again, in addition to these core competences, I think it is networking and it is being a professional. And I don't have to say much more, but it says that we train people. It's a bit about their habit, about their values, and not just career work as a function, but also as a question of personality. Yeah, and I'm happy if you read that. I send a second link. A nice foundation has annual academies where we exchange between practitioners, and I think everybody is invited, and it will be online in September, so maybe we see there.
Thank you very much, Peter. It was extremely interesting listening to you, and I guess summarizing the comments made, we hear that also it's not everything in the hands of a vet center. Lots of things are also, you know, on a higher level to be decided, like standards, quality assurance. So not everything is in the hand of the centers, but there are of course things the centers can do, as we heard from Ilse. And that's what I want to play back now to Ronald, a last question. And maybe we try to be brief here to just give more time also to the vet centers then for discussion and question. So Ronald, what would be for you the 3 key pieces of advice to centers of vocational excellence regarding cooperation and collaboration as one of the key elements to provide good services?
Right. First of all, I'd like to thank the previous speakers. They opened up so many conversations here that, of course, we don't have the time to go into, but there are some really deep, profound issues that require us to discuss at length. In terms of your question, I mean, yes, the idea of having collaboration with others, of turning to others is very important. One, because we need to be very much aware of the cultural settings from which our students come from. I think this is crucial. There's a lot of research which suggests that teachers have an idealized image of what a student should be like. And we forget that students come from different contexts, and if we're going to connect with them, it's absolutely crucial that we become familiar with those contexts. We also, I think, need to keep in mind that practically all the research that there is reminds us to be humble, that we are not the most influential on students' decision-making. It is extended family, it is significant others in the community, it is friends. So knowing that, I think we should look at that not necessarily as a deficit, but as a strength that we could build on. That is, we need to have connections with the community in order for our messages to make sense within the way young people build up their understanding of the world. And the third point, which I think basically also resonates with what Peter was saying, and that is we have to be very careful that as service providers, we do not end up simply thinking of ourselves or of our students as cogs in a machine. We are not educators if we do that. We are educators if we give them the tools in order to decode a very complex world where they have a space in which to try to flourish. So the approach should be an authentic education, which also questions what type of habitat, to use Peter's word, we provide at work, especially in a context where we have a climate crisis, where a lot of the values that traditionally are associated with work and the work ethic need to be questioned. So this requires engagement with community, engagement with NGOs who perhaps are far ahead of where schools are at when it comes to thinking about future challenges.
Thank you, Ronald. That was really, really good now. Thank you very much to all the panelists, to Ilse, Jennifer, Peter, and Ronald. What Ronald just said is true. This meeting will not be able to answer all the questions. We rather wanted to bring up the big questions. So that was our objective. We wanted to raise all the questions, to kick off a discussion that we in this network will continue in order to develop together. And that's why we are here today. And now I want to give the word to our participants. Please just unmute yourself and raise your question. Let me just start maybe by naming one of you. Najib, I saw you raising a question. Do you want to start making your point?
Yes, thank you very much. Indeed, I raised a point, and maybe it is the question is directed to Mr. Ronald. If he wishes to answer, I will be grateful. My question was about how do you think that, let me remember it word by word, how can career services get involved in career design and evaluation? And do you think that career services should be involved in syllabus design from the beginning, not being at the other end of the stick after the work is finished? Thank you very much, Ronald.
Yes. Okay, just quickly, because these are impossibly difficult to answer in a minute. But I'm going to mention just one example of curriculum development, which was bottom-up. And of all places, this was in Palestine, where I supported a group of teachers, practitioners, and some university colleagues as well, to consider the world of work from their perspective and to build up a curriculum for kids from 11 to 15, which was designed by the teachers in collaboration with parents. It is probably one of the only, if not the only, curriculum design that is available in the Arabic language, to my knowledge, and which has been adopted in schools. So I am fully in agreement that teachers and careers advisors should not be at the end of the stick. They should be there from the start, but that they should open the conversation about the world of work with as many groups as possible, including students themselves. And in many of the countries, in my region at least, parents are extremely influential. So if we're going to do any careers advice and guidance, we need to bring them on board so that the messages that they receive are congruent.
It's a very, very strong point and important for our work. I totally agree. Are there any other questions? I see comments from Mustafa Lakihal, from Cecine Derechi. Sorry for not pronouncing names correctly. Please just unmute yourself and talk to us. Questions, comments, you can make your own point, share your experience, ask for
thank
advice.
You very much. My name is Sezin from Turkey, Istanbul Chamber of Industry.
Oui, merci.
Merci, je suis de la TFP,
Mustafa?
l'Agence tunisienne de la formation professionnelle.
Mustafa,
L'Agence tunisienne de la formation professionnelle.
vous,
Oui.
vous pouvez attendre un instant. Il y a avant une madame de la Turquie qui va parler et mettre à vous. Merci.
D'accord.
I'm so sorry I interrupted. My name is Sezin from Turkey Istanbul Chamber of Industry, and we are part of the network as well. And I'm together with my colleagues attending this event.
Welcome.
And this Chamber of Industry is connected to 40 vet schools in Istanbul, Turkey. We are in the kind of management of the school to improve school education collaboration. And for career guidance and counseling, we kicked off some kind of activities in this field. For example, we are connected to an NGO in Istanbul, and they connect firms with the relevant schools and for mentoring and coaching. This is one of the activities that we follow right now. And for the long-term perspective, we would like to be engaged in more projects to learn more about career counseling and to adapt best practices from the experts and from the EU and other countries in Turkey. So I want to make just a point, and I don't have a question right now. We will look through all the links and the reports and contact the experts in the long run. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That's very interesting. We have a couple of questions afterwards to see also how you are interested in continuing the discussion and the exchange in that area. So stay with us until the end, please. Mustafa. Mustafa Lakeal.
Oui, merci. Merci, Mustafa. Moi, Mustafa Lakeal de Tunisie, l'Agence tunisienne de la formation professionnelle. Je travaille sur la question de l'orientation et de l'accompagnement des jeunes. Mon expérience me permet de dire que jusque-là, on s'est focalisé sur le développement de systèmes efficaces d'orientation. Donc, on a beaucoup travaillé sur les prestataires de services et les systèmes et les procédures, les processus. Mais je pense que, d'ailleurs, d'après les interventions, il y a une grande lacune au niveau de la formation des individus à acquérir des compétences d'orientation. Tout le long de notre vie scolaire et même professionnelle, on se rend compte de plus en plus que nous n'avons pas des compétences entre guillemets, savoir s'orienter. Donc, serait-il possible de réfléchir sur cette question, c'est-à-dire développer des outils en direction des individus pour qu'ils deviennent conscients pour développer cette compétence de savoir s'orienter. Merci.
Thank you very much. Anybody of the panelists who wants to respond to that?
Yeah, I can just share this. I think a
Please.
good system is one thing, and this is helpful to establish systems. And of course, a lot of work here is also done on that. But then it's just the halfway of the whole thing, and the other halfway is really to work close with younger or not so young people. Because what we sell with the competence frames for career management skills and so on is something people need to see as relevant from their own view. And I think this is the hard point also here, that's not given that just because we have a good system, people also understand that this is relevant for them. And this just can be eased by the practitioner in the first line, those people who speak with the learners and to find a common understanding why this might be relevant. It's about motivation and relevance seen by the people.
It's a very, very, very important point, Peter. Thank you for that reaction. I have one last question from Parvis. I'm sorry for not pronouncing your name right. Please come in. just unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you very much. Hello to everyone. My name is Parvis. I am from Azerbaijan. Before to go my question, I would like to say my thanks to all organizers, to all the presenters and speakers. Well, my question is about to get the suggestion, what you can suggest and advise to career services, which is just launched a few months ago. I mean, what kind of steps and measures should be taken by us? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Parvis. Just a general reaction. All these questions that you're facing, we will continue discussing them. This is the starting point we're having today. So don't worry if not everything is going to be answered today. We are kicking off. We stay in touch and we continue the discussion. But does anybody of the panelists want to react to that question?
Maybe I can reflect because every year in the study year beginning, we make career guidance plan for every study year, and every month we see how is this career guidance plan developed, and every month we make the actualization of these plans. It is our experience and it is one of our possibilities to develop system in career guidance. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ilse. Again, we will continue that discussion. I'm aware that there are many other questions coming up and we triggered lots of questions and that was our intention. So I'm very happy about the active involvement of everybody. But given the time, we need to come to an end for today. But before we close, let me please ask you to participate once more in a couple of questions that we figure out which areas are you interested in further developing and how. So if the chat moderators could please post again the link, or if you just go back to the web browser that is open with the questions, we would continue with 3-4 more questions to you. The first one is, which areas of career guidance and education would you like to develop or further develop? And I see people start to answer. That's good. So this is not the end again. This is just a first glimpse to give us an idea altogether where your interests are, where you see your needs for further development. And based on that, we continue our exchange and our discussion to structure our cooperation on further developing your services. Okay, that's rich. So we have a quality of services as an interesting, career counseling as an interest area, career information for potential future students, employment counseling as well, less on quality assurance, I see. So I guess maybe you've worked a lot on that before, given that you're a center of vocational excellence, but also career education. No, there are lots of topics actually of your interest. Thank you. Can we move to the next question, please? Are you interested overall in peer learning for excellence? Would you say, yes, I want to engage? We'll later discuss in which ways, so we will ask you also how you would like. So 5 people said yes. Okay. Well, I suppose that was more a rhetoric question because you wouldn't be here otherwise. But it's good to see that you want to engage into peer learning. If we can move to the next question, please. Now we'll look into how would you like to organize the peer learning for excellence? Is it rather that you really want to go into a sub-working group where you maybe even develop something together? Or is it a loose exchange of good practice you want to engage in? Or you're seeking coaching sessions, individuals or group coaching sessions? Or peer learning visits, may they be online or face-to-face? of course, all options are fine. Yeah, we don't need to decide just on one. Okay, I see a broad interest in basically all of those areas, and you will be able in the next question to give us even more options. We'll give you free space to also suggest ways for peer learning. Okay, so I see a good practice exchange always is a front runner. That's clear. So we will look into that, but for that we also need to understand, you know, what high quality good practice is for us. So we need to create that common understanding for us, a kind of model. Can we move to the last question, please? Here you can type in yourself any other way of organizing the peer learning. Whatever comes to your mind, whatever from your experience turned out to be fruitful for peer learning and exchange. Just let us know your thoughts and your wishes. We can take them into account when further planning with you. I'll give us all a couple of more seconds. It should work, right? Because there has not been any mentioning. It's also not required. I mean, if we don't come up with ideas now, it doesn't mean that we cannot add things. This is just the first glimpse. So maybe we just stop the question and let me close for today. There was something, but it doesn't matter. We will look at it afterwards. We will send you the results anyway with a follow-up email that I'm mentioning now. So I want to thank all of the participants and especially also the panelists and the speakers for joining us today. I'm really thankful for that. One very quick announcement. There is a new ILO ETF paper coming up on developing career development support systems. We will launch it on the 9th of June. You will be invited in a follow-up email. You will receive information as well as the resources we shared today. I thank you all. I want to give the last word to Manuel to look into the next steps for the ENE work network, and thanks to all. We'll stay in touch.
Thank you all again very much, all participants. Our high level, we are very privileged to have today Ilse, Jennifer, Peter, and Mr. Ronald. Thank you very much. We had a fantastic kickoff session. I think this is just the beginning. Florian repeated several times. As we conceive this topic, is going to be for us today very important to build further, because we want to dig deeper on how what is the role also of the Center of Vocational Excellence dealing with career guidance. So for us today is a very important discussion. As we already identified, there are many things to discuss in digging deeper, and also in the last questions that we put on you. Florian already asked you what type of peer learning you will like to see with us to enjoy together. So there we are anticipating you some of our plans, because career guidance issue is going to be integrated in the main 8 thematic approaches that we have in ENE. Basically, now we are running projects in the role of Center of Vocational Excellence in work-based learning. We are running projects in a role of autonomy and public-private partnerships, and we are launching a second project on that, on which also career guidance is going to be integrated there. We are launching also projects on the entrepreneurial role of Centers of Vocational Excellence, and also launching projects about green skills and the role of Centers of Vocational Excellence and social inclusion. So in all of these projects, career guidance is going to be a part of the pie. So for the next 2 years also, our intention is to continue building in the experience of the network to understand better the role of career guidance and the experiences that centers of vocational excellence are running and the needs of development that you have. So this is what we will do during the 21, and in 22 we expect to give more flavors and count on your experience to continue discussing on career guidance issues and excellence. So that's all for the time being. Thank you very much again, and a big and warm regards to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you and goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye bye, everybody.